What's up, friends? Join us today as we open up the Anarchist Cookbook. We have the most cards that anyone got in a set from this cycle.
Did it fix them?
Why are you rehashing old videos? Oh, by the way, because of what you just said, we are all on the NSA watch list now. So that's cool.
What?
Anarchist Cookbook? I said it again, now we're double on.
It's so old.
Now we're going to prison. Now we're going to the FEMA camps.
I didn't say it, NSA.
Alright, so let's dive in here. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, and like.
If you've already
comment.
subscribed, thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, first off the bat, this cycle introduced two identities, one on each side. We have Reina Roja
Gambit.
as the runner that we saw new. We definitely saw her. Definitely she was out there. She definitely won some regionals. But what's your opinion?
I like her.
Not enough to
Sounded
play.
very creepy.
Well,
It's just, now what do you think about her?
better if I could see her. No, I like her. I mean, she already comes with a link. That's cool. She's got an ability that's useful almost all the time. That's also cool. Those are two cool things. I think she's a cool broad. That's it.
Well, I used her, so I like her.
Yeah, so go from that to that
Yeah,
something.
I'm leaving you all the talking points here.
Yeah.
I'm echoing Corpsemorn. She's very good. Yeah, the link is definitely what sets her apart. I mean, her ability could arguably be the worst of the three at the moment, but the link brings her, I think, up to par. Yeah, Wizard could not have things to trash, but he always does, and Noise's ability is probably one of the best abilities in the game.
Yeah, and that's why I'm always gonna pick right now out of the three. I'm always gonna go Noise. I tried her. I played around with her, but I didn't.
Now that sounds dirty.
I didn't find. I don't know. That threw me off. I'm trying to watch my words now. I couldn't. I couldn't get any.
Couldn't get into her. Couldn't find the little man in the boat.
She just wasn't. I don't think she brought anything to the table that was top of the top.
Top shelf?
Yeah,
Top shelf, there you go.
yeah. The cream didn't rise to the top. So I still can't say that.
That was the worst one!
Oh boy. So,
I like the fact that she has Link, but her ability, I just think there's better runner abilities out there, even in faction.
there you go. Was that so hard? 45-15, moving right along.
Well, part of me thinks that we should talk more about what Rain, like, it was a different play style. Like, only two identities. You can't just pass by one just like that.
We're not zipping past it. You dwelled on it for quite a while.
Only because I'm more the mind of a child and carefree. But if I say the wrong word here, and it's just, oh, good lord.
Yep.
Why, like, so you went almost, as soon as she came out. She didn't come out at the beginning of the cycle.
No.
She came out a little bit in.
I think, so let's just break it down. Jackson Howard kind of threw a lot in the works of Noise, so he kind of teetered off. And this was still back
Which was
when...
a mistake, by the way.
Huge mistake.
I think a lot of people should have stuck Noise.
And then the game at this point was still at a very huge point where you were either all asset economy or all burst economy. That was kind of the... We all remember it. We all did it. It was just, you kind of picked what side you are. And then, so nobody was really playing Noise because there was like a 50-50 chance that you were going to... Or Wizard. There was like a 50-50 chance that you were going to not see a significant amount of and you weren't going to get your return back. Rena was like the first one where her ability, exactly like Corpseborn said, it's just going to happen. The link is sweet. There was a lot of cards in this set that paired with her very well, and there's a lot of cards that pair really well with increasing the cost of anything. Really. Ice being the foremost of that thing. Yeah, it started out with a lot of the forge activations, shutdown. It was that kind of jank at first. People realized that wasn't great. Everybody tried to mess around with the chest decks. That wasn't really great. I think she hit her stride when Stephen Woolley decided to grab her by the hair. Was that offensive? And yeah, just
Made a bicycle out of her.
yeah.
Programs make up a runner. Let's get into the programs. Very early, the second card that we actually saw in the set was Pawn. Pawn was very interesting.
Useful as soon as it came out. Very useful.
I think the most interesting thing about Pawn, to me, was a lot of people tried to play those street, whatever they were called, street chests
Exile
with
street chests.
with
Yeah.
Exile for the recursion and popping off his ability. Very respectful and cool, and shouts out to people that really tried that. But I don't know, that wasn't my style, and I couldn't see. I really couldn't see the longevity of how that would last in a full tournament play.
No, we didn't, right?
Yeah, I don't think we saw that at
Didn't
all.
really
in tournament
continue.
play.
I'm sure there was one or two people out there, and I think I saw Pawn.
When we say tournament play, we mean like top 8.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure people brought it to a tournament
Yeah.
and regretted it
Lots of
immediately.
people bring lots of stuff, right? There's tons of Andy suckers that don't make the cut, right?
Yeah.
So
But it was a nice chess piece to have. 0 for 0 memory. Like, it wasn't doing anything for you.
I was going to make a joke when you said there's a lot of Andy Sucker decks that didn't make the cut. That's because not everybody could make the cut. Meaning that everybody was never
playing Andy sucker.
The next one we saw right behind Pawn upon release was Rook.
Who used Rook from the second it came out? This guy!
You definitely did. You definitely played the chess out. Rook was a very interesting piece, and it. I think it did a lot more work if the corporation did a lot of work setting up ice and you had options. But there was times when, I played against you and I tried different styles, and sometimes I was, you'd get by and still win the game, but I'd have ice out thin layers that I wasn't rezzing, I wasn't doing anything with, because I was able to get things behind and was lucky off advances and stuff.
It's just meant to muck the works up, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a card that won me any games, but I still like the fact that I can say that a majority of the time it cost the court more than it did me to play. And I just loved it.
Yeah.
And then, I get razzed about it all the time, but once it's not useful anymore, you pawn it to Aesop's. And then you gain all your money back. And that's what I was doing, and I don't know if that's what everybody else was doing, but I friggin' loved it. And it was almost, anytime I got it in my opening hand, just threw it down. It was just I never regretted it. Might be times at the end of the game where you might have it and you don't really, there's a lot of stuff rezzed and it kind of turns into a dead draw. That was probably the weakest thing for me, but just in the opening hand, it was just a flawless card.
Yep, I feel the same way. I was running Wooly's version of the Anarch there for a little while, and it does a lot of work for you, especially early game. Mirror what you said. End of the game, sometimes it's like, you don't need it anymore, but still, basically 85 to 90% of the time, it's a welcome sight on any draw.
And it's not like you're running the remote server every time. It's nice to have on the table and you're bumping around and you're forcing them to increase the res cost of of the centrals, and then once you really want into that remote, which you basically have untouched, and they have the 3 layers in or whatever,
Bump 2 over.
then you just bump them over, and now you basically got a free run, you know. Especially in Steve's deck, that's why it was like a flawless build, because he had that overmind to take care of probably the one ice that you could res, that you could afford to res, because he's account siphoning you and all that garbage.
Yeah, I have more points. I'm going to talk more for me once we get the full chess suite out. So we're going to move on to Bishop. Bishop was a nice card because it didn't cost you anything as well.
Yeah.
And it was almost the counter to Rook, right? Like you said, like I've seen you use Rook. Once the majority of the ice is rezzed, get rid of Rook, out comes Bishop, you know, next in line. And
I never really used Bishop.
well, when it
came out, when it came out, that's
not,
what I was
I'm not,
doing.
not at the beginning of the thing. Bishop, I think out of all of the chess pieces, Bishop and Pawn were kind of fell the way a bit.
Arguably, Bishop is stronger than both Pawn and Rook, because.
But I didn't see it used as much.
No, but Bishop is almost just, it's almost always going to be useful. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, it's saving whatever ice, it's saving you $2 basically.
Yep.
You know
You're getting your return on investment almost right away.
Yeah.
So.
You can Parasite.
This is the only one that I'm not sure on how it moves to.
I think it does the
server.
Yeah, it has to go from
yeah,
central to remote. Yeah.
Thoughts on Bishop over this side?
Yeah, I think it's a good card. I think that it's definitely something you should consider adding if you are doing ice destruction, because minusing the strength of ice like by 2 right off the bat is pretty cool, and it only can't be hosted on one with another Kessia, so you can still put a virus or Parasite on the same piece of ice, which is pretty cool.
Is that something you'd want to do? You lose 2 cards?
Yeah, why not?
Once it's parasited?
If you need that ice gone,
Yeah.
why not?
I think
I'm just throwing it out as a talking point
Yeah.
question.
I think with this card too, and a lot of people right now are experimenting with personal touches on Darwin's and having David round off their higher suite. That scares me to death because of Will o' the Wisp right now, because you're basically losing your whole setup. But I think that's going to mold into people using a lot more bishops in conjunction with Darwin's, right? And it also fits into the... Literally, the archetype is Aesop's Pawn Shop for the new virus mill, but this is going to work in that setting too.
I'm going to skip over the next card here.
Can't help it. Like, it's the card that's in the back of my head at all times.
So we're gonna go right. We're gonna skip over one and go to Knight, so we can get the full chess set out. Knight was definitely a breaker that was everywhere. Every faction tried it. It did find a heavy home in Gabe decks.
Sir Gabe.
Yeah, they were coined the Sir Gabe. He was a very powerful breaker. Did a lot of damage.
I used and abused this card.
Yeah, I mean, I've had decks that this was my only breaker. So, I mean, that just shows when it came out how powerful Knight could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, my deck that I was running forever was
phoning it
3
in.
worms.
I'm just phoning
3
this one in,
knights,
yeah.
and-
I mean, strength 7, and the only qualm that I have with it is the 2 to break subroutine on host ice, but then you got your E3 implants, so...
It was nice to see at the end of the cycle that there was things that came out that made Knight not go away, but become less popular. There was a lot of people running things that were very small breakers that they're like, oh man, it cost me $4 to get through this every time with Knight, right? Like,
it clipped his wings a bit.
yeah.
Yeah. Plus you could just trash those because they're cheap and bring a new one.
Everybody was running Eli, and Eli was like the worst thing you could see.
So we got the 4. Let's discuss the set. A lot of people thought that we would see a king. Will we still see the king?
Still holding out for the king.
I think the chess might be done.
Hopefully not.
But the chess as a whole, the way they moved, the way they interacted, comments, thoughts?
I think it's kind of foolish to just make a chess deck and just use all of the pieces for the sake of using all of the pieces, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think that, but taking select pieces of this, namely Rook and Knight, you can round out a lot of decks. You can make some very formidable breaker suites with at least these two pieces, and that is become glaringly evident over the course of time because a lot of the decks that are winning the regionals and all that sort of thing, they all have them in there at some point or another. So that's my take.
With the viruses, and I love the parallel to the viruses because the viruses all do something different. You know, I read it on a forum. The only thing the viruses have in common is the fact that they're viruses themselves, right? They all do something glaringly different. That's what I love about the chess set. It's just the difference between the viruses and the chess set is the viruses have a cohesive play style and a home. You know what I mean? They have a home in the noise deck. They have a, you know, they work together on multiple levels. I think that, like, I was the guy that I went out and bought 2 chess sets specifically, like mini chess sets specifically, so I could have 3 of the same color knights, 3 of the same color rooks. Like, I was all about these, and it's just like I feel like I tried to use them so much that I wanted them to be so good that I was avoiding seeing how they weren't great. You know what I mean?
You're slamming the square brick through the circle hole.
I was trying, and I know I do that a lot, but it's just like I really don't want this to be it, because now that, you know, Noise is back with the toys that he's got, I honestly don't think anybody's even going to look at these cards again.
And, you know, so very quickly before we get onto stuff like that, without going into too much depth about the card, running chess with and without Deep Red.
If you're just running one, you could do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're, like, Gabe didn't need a Deep Red with his Knight. But I mean, like, if you're even planning on running Rook and Knight, which is, they're great cards, you know what I mean? Then it's a good idea.
Yeah. And if you're planning on complementing with Data Suckers or Parasites, just something like you kind of have to.
Or what a lot of people do now is they pair Knight with Overmind, and Overmind is just gross with Deep Red too.
Yeah. My opinion is I really do think, I think the same thing. Deep Red takes these cards and increases them in value, all of them. When I ran Knight by itself or out of faction, I find it can be very tedious, and I'm taxing myself sometimes to put it in play and then spend a click to install it on a host. Sometimes you can really get behind the 8 ball having to move stuff without Deep Red. You can't get that quick burst of attack out. The chess pieces as a whole, like I said at the beginning, Anarch got the most cards that any other faction did because I think they were really flushing this chess system out. I loved it from a design perspective, how
flawless
how
design.
It worked, giving another option to it, seeing things, playing cards and a game within a game on top of your opponent's board. They're creating the chessboard with their ice. It was so phenomenal and out of the box thinking, and it's almost a shame that it wasn't as popular as it was.
And even the bigger shame is the fact that there's so many cards that are coming out that are making them steadily worse. Like, we're getting Blue Sun in a couple packs, and it's gonna make Kessia programs almost a joke. Like, until we get something that lets us pull them back at instant speed or get them back, like, even if it's just a card that I have to play and I have to put in my deck so I don't lose them, then they're losing flavor. And please, Fantasy Flight, give them more things. Like, they can't be, if this is all we get, they're done. I think they're done.
And on that note, I had no problem trashing a piece of ice to get rid of someone's Knight. Many, many times. Because you know why? Because I knew they were going to burn a clone chip to get it back. Because I knew that they were splashing for a piece Shaper program in their thing, and those weren't cheap pieces, you know, to use your splash on. So they were burning one of those to reoccur. The knight was pretty much the heavy one. I would think twice about, you know, rook or bishop, because those were one-time things. I could, you know, pay the extra cost.
We may as well just do deep red.
No.
We'll talk about it now, and then we'll talk about it later.
Well, okay. do you want to do deep red then? This is
Well, it's completely meaningless without.
Okay. So we'll put deep red on the table. Deep red the console, 3 MUs to use the Kessia programs with. Whenever you install, you may trigger its click ability without spending it. The click. No other reason to run this other than to use the, like, if you're playing chess, you're playing.
You have to run
Yeah,
deep red.
because like I said, it will slow you down.
If you're using Overmind too.
Which is very interesting because the chess itself is very low memory cost. You know, they're all like 1, 0.
Yeah, because well, aside from the knight, then everything else was meant to be used in conjunction with a breaker.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to have the extra MU.
It's it was a very, very lovely, very cheap to get on the board. But yeah, chess itself, I wouldn't play it with any other person other than Reina.
Yeah, at this point, there's no point. Maybe Wizard, but it's just, you know,
No.
it has so many things to do with ice, and you kind of almost want to, like, with the beautiful, and I know everybody kind of just puts her in, like, oh, the chess and Rena go together, because that was what the theme does, but in reality, like, it's really punishing after you make them res that ice. Well, I mean, Rook is already on the table, so it's already complementing her ability, and then after they've resed it, now you're just manipulating something that they paid more to get, and then potentially paid more to trash later on, right?
Well,
that's where it balanced out, right?
To bring the chess pieces over, like Pawn is the only one of the programs that cost 1 influence. You know, so they were expensive to try and bring them in, and
well, because Pawn is a complete support piece. If you don't have any other chess pieces, then you're not going to run Pawn.
Mm-hmm. You know, Deep Red does. I do like the fact that it was cheap as well, so you could port it over, and I do give, like I say, tons of credit to the people that tried the Exile chess decks. And for a moment there, I really thought there was something, but those they're still there, and they could still win you games, but they're, you know, when push comes to shove, it's not the top tier.
No, it's not.
So chess by itself, like I said, is great. I loved what it did, and it's, you know, I think, yes, they should put out some more support for it. Because, you know,
how many cards do they have that
if you don't
aren't viruses that do things for viruses? You know what I mean? We have, like, Cyber Feeder. You know, that's a card that does something for viruses. Like, you could have stuff akin to that aren't going to they won't break the game.
Yeah, so you want something that So are you looking for another piece? Like, what would they...
Well, obviously, I want the Queen and the King to come out.
Yeah.
And I want them to be less of a unique thing. I want the Queen to make the whole set. I don't even know how they do it. I have no real good options.
Maybe the Queen will be unique. You can only have 1 Queen on the board.
Yeah, I think the Queen and the King should be unique. But I think they should have very, very good abilities.
And then,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then are you looking for, when you talk about the other things about cyber feeders and things, you want more cards that interact with the subclass, with Kessia itself.
Kessia, yeah.
You know, free moves. You know, there's other moves in chess, right? Like Castle. Maybe you can switch 2 Kessias.
That would be cool.
Castle Kingside.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, that kind of stuff is, like, that would make... It's subpar right now, and especially with stuff like Blue Sun coming out, like, they're just gonna bounce it back. Like, it's not even gonna be. It's not even gonna be there's not gonna be a second thought on it.
Yeah.
We have talked a lot about Kessia Program.
Well, I think that it was the main thing, like, right? Like, there was a lot of cards in this set, so it did deserve some attention. Do you want to? Did you say did you already touch on if you would run this anywhere else, or did I just kind of take that and run?
We can run it outside of
Even in faction, yeah, outside of Reyna.
Yeah, I could use it with. I did use some of it with Wizard, not the whole thing, obviously, but yeah, Rook and Knight complement Wizard very well, right? Because I think with Rook you get the ability to make their ice cost more, which is what Reyna does anyway. So I figure why not switch out identities and do something else as well, right? So
I don't think you see any other card but Knight, and that's only in Criminal. I don't think Shaper needs any of these cards.
No.
I don't think
Shaper
they benefit
does just well without
at
any
all
of the stuff,
without any of these cards.
No, they're like I said, they're a lot to eventually splash in.
The only one is Deep Red that could be splashed just specifically for Overmind decks in like a Chaos Theory deck.
That's it.
All right, so that's pretty much chess in a nutshell there, right?
It's a lot bigger than a nutshell. It's like a swimming pool.
A pea pot.
Olympic size swimming pool.
So we have the next guy here, Program, the Damon.
I think it's a girl.
Oh, Scheherazade.
Scheherazade.
Great, another
Scheherazade.
thing I'm gonna get told I mispronounced.
Scheherazade. Scheherazade.
Scheherazade!
Shaha!
Were we calling this Charmander for a while?
Yeah.
I choose you, Charmander.
Install a program on him, gain a buck.
Her.
Install on this card, gain a buck.
I hate that it's a unique. I
Host-
want it in my deck, but it's not going in.
Well, how many of them do you
It'd be
need?
super broken.
Yeah, but I want to see them early, and I want to pawn the ones that I find later on.
So put 3 in.
You can't, because the first one is doing work, and it's got crap on top of it, and then the next one you put in trashes that one. I want to put it in, I want to pay the next one, get $1 off, and the next turn I want to pawn it out of play.
That'd be too.
That's what I want to do.
That's
Call me inappropriate.
0 memory, 0 cost. It was. This is a card that can do work, but did it do work?
I did not.
It did not.
Did not.
It's doing work now.
Pawn was the only card that they said of the Kessias that could move off it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I saw a couple people doing the pawn, boom, get trashed, come back.
Keep
Yeah, because
rolling
they
it out.
errated pawn.
Yeah, so it makes, it's a little skip.
Little engine. It's a little money engine.
Yeah, because this one says it's already hosted.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't re-host it off a non-ice.
So, any other thoughts on this? I don't know. I wasn't drawn to it.
It's a great card. And in theory, you only have one in your deck and you draw it first hand every time.
Every time.
That's how this card is a god card. But in reality, you need to have multiple copies in your deck in order to see it early, and every other card is a dead draw. Now let's look into the faction. Anarch doesn't have the best draw already, so let's throw in a card that you're spending precious clicks that you already don't have enough of, drawing cards, and you see the second copy of this, and then you rip your friggin' face off. Like, it's so bad.
It was a good movie.
I thought that was Pinocchio.
Face off?
No, Face Off first.
Oh, I thought you were doing the.
Stole my face, man!
The Beetlejuice says that. Remember Beetlejuice?
Lights,
Alec
camera,
Baldwin makes-
bitchin' technology!
Yeah.
Was that Alec Baldwin? I thought that was one of the other Baldwins. Stephen Baldwin.
No.
No?
Oh, you want to know what's another good movie? Like, Netrunner related? Swordfish. You guys watch that in a while?
Oh, yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, and he's a hacker.
Yeah, but Halle Berry.
Yeah, right?
I know.
Good movie.
Really good movie.
Total
John
hacker.
Travolta.
Best Halle Berry movie I've ever seen.
When
Monsters Ball was
should we still be waiting for you to tell us a good movie?
That was a good movie. Swordfish was great.
Titanic.
All right. So anything else on this guy here? I don't. One influence. I saw a couple people in Shaper try and do some things with him.
Oh, what,
but that
like
was
self-modifying code this out first?
No, it was the whole street. I think he was part of the street chess engine. But
Pisses me off.
I-
hate that. I hate them. I hate them.
I'm
Freaking
not.
hate them.
I'm not a fan of building on one card for the whole fact
Yeah,
that if that
it's kinda
card,
risky.
yeah,
Yeah.
and for that $1, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's risky business, is what it
you
is.
know, and in if you used them in Kate, you were saving the dollar, gaining the dollar. So, meaning it has its uses, but
It's a demon. I think it's gender neutral.
Damon.
If you don't know, those are pretty eyes.
So, what guy can't have pretty eyes?
No, a guy could
Yeah,
have pretty
some of
eyes,
these
but
ones.
then that would make me.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's
No.
what- we've said that.
The
before.
so I don't know. I don't think it's really come into its own. It was definitely tried.
Kind of looks like my.
And
tattoo.
it was definitely tested. Well, you should play it all the time.
I have a Shazam on my arm.
Shazam, I have a Shazamazar.
Shazam! The Rock is playing Shazam. Eh?
Shaq O'Neal.
The next card we come across was a super heavily used card. This is the Keyhole.
Never saw this card.
I saw this card all over the
Kidding,
place.
that's the whole time. I was the one who exploited it.
Everybody's lost to a keyhole. Everybody's lost to a keyhole.
And I'll vamp you, and keyhole, and rook, keyhole.
I think he found its niche inside the Ian Sterling builds. I think that was a great combination.
Yeah, go ahead, just like friggin' pump your deck up.
No, I'm
Did you hear it? I caught myself. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I didn't even get it out.
No, they got the point though. They got the point.
I hate when people do that. They swear blatantly in front of my kids, and then they're like, "I mean fudge." I'm like, "Great, now you ruined fudge."
no better card for Ian than right there.
Oh yeah,
You're not-
we're
you're not-
doing cards.
You're not
Like-
stealing. You're not stealing the agendas. You're just trashing them. You're trashing everything along the way.
Godsend against Genteki.
This card was a bugger though to memory manage. 2 was steep sometimes to have in play.
2 was steep and 4 was steep.
For cost.
Yeah.
Oh, Anarchs.
It was hard. It was hard to pull it off.
choking it
You
up.
really had to
yeah.
set stuff up to pull it off properly.
And it's not.
To be able to abuse it.
Yeah, it's not something that you could just like throw into play and then just be like, "Ha! I've got this card now." Because then they'll be like, "Well, ice, ice, ice."
Yeah, I think it was
Fudge you.
It was really a deck or a card that you were building specifically around. That's why I don't think the splash or the influence level was a problem. I think one of these in a shaper you can find it. In an Ian Sterling, it's either your first or second card that you're using logos for. It's marvelous. A marvelous format to play the game. Instead of stealing the agendas, you're trashing everything.
There's only one card that does something similar that I like better, and that's Data Leak Reversal. So if you can find a way to make Data Leak work, then it's kind of... I know it's not targeted discard, but it's
You're installing your...
a lot of discard for not having to make a ton of runs on R&D.
Yeah, you can turn anybody into a noise, right?
Yeah.
This is a little bit more permanent than that, though, too.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. But I mean, I just think that even though this is permanent, like there's nothing stopping them from like trying to change their game plan just to keep you out or to make a run.
Well, a lot of
If you're finishing people off with this, power to you. Because then it works.
There's plus and minuses to both of them, but I think at the end of the day, like you're able to, with Data Leak Reversal, you're able to make the negative side of it almost a plus side.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, if you're going to trash it, I'm going to put you in a no-win scenario.
Yeah.
You either let me do this
yeah.
or pay clicks and trash it.
Yeah,
Combination
I think
with Josh would be-
the fun part about Keyhole though was to see those 3 cards, to have the choice, right? 3 cards. What am I trashing out of these? Like sometimes it's really hard to make that choice, but and then the great
Always.
the great part about it then again was that it had to be shuffled. The deck had to be shuffled so you could do it again.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you lose part of that. That's why I don't think it fit very well in Shaper. You lose that lock, right? Everyone calls it the R&D lock because you can see.
Well, if you have an R&D interface, you can like first click R&D interface, look at 2 cards, then look at the third, like hopefully steal one or trash one, and then you Keyhole to look at 2 more, target, throw, shuffle the deck. Now you're looking at 2 accessing 2 cards, and then
I really like these cards as very offensive to trash cards that can't normally be trashed, and really can screw somebody up big time if you're really hitting all their economy. You know, you hit one of their Jackson Howards, you hit
that's cool.
you know
That
you,
stings. That
you,
stings.
You hit their kill cards.
You want to know what I thought was gonna get more popular was Kraken with this thing, because then you could set up the Kraken run. You know what I mean? So it's not just you're not just holding Kraken and hoping that you steal an agenda to play it. You like first turn or on one turn you're like, yeah, I'll throw a couple in there, and then I'll parasite, run here, Kraken the other one, run in and steal or something like that.
You know, strangely enough, I saw this more out of faction than I did in faction.
Yeah.
I think it, like
Well,
I said,
because it's hard because we don't have any searcher cards, so it's like every other faction could run 1 copy of it, and its own faction has to run 3 if you want to get it reliable. Because let's admit, first turn, this is like clincher. You know what I mean? Like there's you put them in a no-win scenario. Somebody said before that Anarchs is the only real wild card. If you're playing against a criminal player and you only have 1 ice, icing up HQ. If you're playing against Shaper, icing up R&D. If you're playing in Anarchs, hope they don't have a keyhole and ice up R&D or HQ. You know what I mean? Like, but even then, like you put them in a no-win scenario because they could very well have a nerve agent.
Yeah.
They could very well have blah 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 blah.
But that's why I like the balance with the influence in this game. You know, because you guys can afford to run 3 copies of it in your deck if you needed to, right? Like, 3 influence is still a heavy splash out of faction.
Yeah, I hear you. That's a good point.
Speaking of heavy splashes out of faction, boom, Hemorrhage. Oh lord. 1 memory, 3 play cost, 4 influence. 4 influence is damaging.
So good.
I loved this card when it came out. I've played this in a few tournaments, and key moments when you're making people trash cards. Oh, were you done with Keyhole?
Sure.
I don't know if you had anything.
Moving on.
I don't know.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. You guys pretty much said it all.
So why don't you start off with Hemorrhage then?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So Hemorrhage is, I like it because it's any successful run you get the counter, which is key, right? That's key. What are you pointing at me for?
No, it's just great.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
right. Like
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
So any successful run gets you the host a counter, and then for every 2 counters you have, they trash the card. So, that's awesome. And it's yanking it at HQ, which is like even more punishing because, I don't know. It's so good and so underused, so completely underused. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I think I'm really, really, really contemplating taking out the imps in my deck for these now.
I think it's almost that's almost viable these
Right?
days. Yeah.
Like imp is, in my opinion, a perfect
So good,
card.
so
like
good,
is
yeah.
a perfect card. But the thing that I love about this card is the fact that you don't, like, once you play it, you don't have to play around it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do, and I mean, imp does the exact same thing. You just, as long as you're getting accesses or whatever. But this is, you're just like, because as an Anarch player, you want to be everywhere. You don't want to be pinpointing on one thing, and then this thing is just like,
This isn't gonna run out like an imp will.
Yeah, an imp runs out or can be purged immediately. This one, like first 2 clicks are 2 runs,
Yeah.
and then use a click, trash card.
it's
right?
just great.
Yeah.
You can save.
And having 3 of these in play, never a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you make 2 runs and now you have 3 mills, right? It's so good. Now I am going to talk about future cards. It's going to be a little spoiler bit. It's not. No, this isn't a joke. This card is going to become godlike when Order and Chaos comes out because it's a bad publicity set, and the main focus is lowering. Well, one of the main focuses that we see is lowering the corp's hand size and making them discard cards at random. There is going to be such an assault on HQ that this card is literally going to be shot up to godlike levels, in my opinion.
What I like the most about this card is that we are now well beyond the stages in the game where every card is in your deck for a reason. And every card can, like you don't play with dead draws, or as little as possible. So you try and have cards for every scenario. Forcing this card played on me. You're forcing me to choose what card I have to discard. That's so. I would rather somebody randomly with an imp discard a card off the top of my deck. Like rather than me saying, okay, I've kept this card here for a reason. I've got this card because I want to set up something, and now I'm like, oh crap, I have to trash one of them, or and not many people run with a full 5 hands all the time. So you're making this choice with 3-4 cards, right? Yeah. It forces bad decisions.
Just like I said, and it's the passive play that blows my mind, because like it's just like you're just doing what you want to do anyway, which is make runs, and then that 1 or 2 turns that you're just like, there's no real good thing to do. Just like mill a couple cards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking about it. I actually changed my tune on Katie Jones because I finally started playing it, and I still don't play it the way that a lot of people do, but I love it just to have it on the table. Yeah.
Took a year.
Took a year. Just to have on the table, and like it's just like, okay, well, I have an extra click, because I always end up having that scenario. Every 2 or 3 turns, there's just something that there's no optimal move. This gives you that move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When is them milling a card or discarding a card from their hand ever a bad idea?
I didn't see this played against me a lot. I tried it out a couple times, and I was really shocked that it wasn't in more decks once we saw the influx of run events.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's ones play this as a run, and like you're making your successful run, you're just charging this thing up. How many people right away dirty laundry an archive that has nothing in it? There'll be no archive there, and you're still like, dirty laundry run here.
Let's not even talk to the fact that you actually have enough money to do that first turn.
Yeah.
3, 2, you gain your 5 back. You're no worse.
Yeah.
Now you have a token there.
I think it's a great card. I don't have anything else to add to it. I think watch out for this guy.
Yep.
Because it didn't get the love it needed, and a lot of people should go back and revisit that.
It's gonna come back in a very, very
So
bad way.
that's the program suite done. Heavy on the chess, and some other great additions to the Anarch lifestyle. We've already talked about hardware with Deep Red, but now the other piece of hardware that we got was the Dyson Fractal generator. There's 1 reoccurring credit to pay for using fractors.
Stealth chip. Stealth credits.
Obviously, this card saw 0 play.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to use anything generated right now, you're using the cyber feeders. And other than that, there was no stealth fractors yet. Does anyone else want to add anything to that? Like,
I'll add on because I know the card. The Black Cat's coming out.
well, yeah, this is what we're saying. Like in the future,
Okay.
obviously this is going to be used.
Yeah,
but right
again,
now,
this card right now is
For the
there's
spin cycle.
really there's no use for it. Especially back in the spin cycle, there's no use for it in the new big box. There's no use for it as of now. Black Cat is coming out. It's going to be the Anarch Stealth Fractor. It costs 4. It costs $2 to increase or to break 1 subroutine, or 3 subroutines if you are playing, or no, it's $1 to break 1 fracture subroutine, barrier subroutine, 3 if you use a stealth chip, and it's 2 to increase 1 strength or 2 strength if you're using a fracture credit or the stealth chip credit. And it's got a cool picture, and it's spelled BLACKAT. Black Cat, all one word.
All one word. Black Cat.
very interesting.
Black Cat.
So it's got like a G in there. Black Cat.
Black Cat.
Did you already say enough to say about that? We're good.
We're good. It's no good.
It came out. Is this like the Corpse Morn card?
This is what's gonna make the set a 1.
This,
Yeah.
this is like putting stuff on the other side of the scale.
Yeah. This goes on the.
Wait, bad cards make sets better, right? Because it balances the game as a whole.
No,
and-
okay,
and
not if the
power
card
curve.
is in top. Now it's gone. Doesn't matter? No.
I need that back. It's in my set.
Nah.
All right, so that's the hardware wrapped up. Put a bow on it. Moving into events, the very, very first card of the cycle, number 1, Frame Job. When this card came out, the laughs that this got were,
Unheard of.
yeah,
So bad.
people were rolling in the hills for days. A, because it cost you a credit to play. It was a double event. And you forfeited agenda to give 1 bad publicity.
Take my money, and I don't care what happens.
Yeah, I'd like you to roll more with that.
Yeah. No, there's nothing to say with that. Like as things like okay, me as the player who likes to win, this is not something that I would take. This seems to be very counterintuitive to winning. That's it.
You want to talk about even? Are you one of those people that are like, oh, it's viable now because of the CQ, and I can get rid of that negative point?
Nah,
Step
no.
you with the
No. Way too janky.
You talk about it because I'm going to talk about what you can do with it later.
Later.
Yeah, definitely not now.
Not during the spin
now.
cycle.
Past, present, future. Or,
Yeah.
Is the good? There was the Ghost of Christmas Past. He was the sexy one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't mind Frame Job. I did run a deck that used blackmail, and it was in there as a last resort to give a blackmail if I needed it. It obviously had exposes in it through the infiltration, so I could make sure that I wasn't trading a straight up 2 for 2. You know, a lot of people run 1-point agendas, so it's not uncommon to steal a 1-pointer. But overall, I'm not really relying on Frame Job to do me much. But I did. I have popped a Frame Job for the win before, so I don't know. You're gonna have to tune into the end to see how that sways the scales.
So it happened one time.
I think he honestly did it against me.
Really?
Yeah, I remember him beating me with that deck.
So
the frame job was a crucial part.
Frame Job, I enjoy it that it's there. I really wish it was more of a trade-off, but maybe that's a design factor because of what bad publicity could be. But I mean, an agenda for 1 is very, very steep.
We now have 2 cards that go into your score pile that do absolutely nothing. They're going to grow as the game grows. As of right now, I'm not saying it's too good, but that's 2 cards that are pretty widely used that people actually could have them thrown on them. Those are 2 cards that are spoiled. Or no, we have domestic sleepers out now.
Yeah.
Domestic sleepers and the CQ.
CQ.
So, that said, the card is gaining a little bit of headway. Where it's going to shine is with the new current that's coming out in Order and Chaos, which says that the corpse hand size is reduced by 1 for every bad publicity they have.
Really, you'd forfeit an agenda?
I would forfeit a 1-point agenda to give them to lower another hand size. And to do it consistently, especially since it's going to be more. I've wanted for a while.
It's a current though.
Yeah, but I've wanted for.
It's gonna come and go.
Yeah, but we're talking about a current in an Anarch deck where we know that we are the best at recurring events. You know what I mean? We have tons of ways to recur them. We can bring them back all the time. I agree that it's not great, but it's very runnable. And I've been wanting to make a bad publicity deck where that's kind of your sole economy, where you don't really run with a lot of money, you run solely on the bad publicity. And the more you stack up, the better it's going to get. Like this card alone, it's not worth having 3 of these in your deck because you don't... 3 publicity you can throw away. You know what I mean? But if you're talking about the girl that starts with a bad publicity, and then now there's cards that you just forfeit your turn to give them another bad publicity, now we're looking at like 4 just there, which if you already have those 4 out, now it's worthwhile including Tally Peralta. Sounds like a joke, but if they've already got 4 bad publicity, you're playing that just to kind of add more and potentially draw 4 cards. That's what we wanted from Tally, was to save you from dying to Scorched Earth. Now, with those cards, you have the ability to do that. And now we're looking at 7 bad publicity. On top of all that, if you have 7 bad publicity, you have enough to not have to include any more economy cards in your deck. As long as your job is to run and not really do anything else, and I'm not saying it's top tier, I'm just saying, I'm saying along with that current, and along with a few other cards that I'm sure we're getting in Order and Chaos, this card is going to see more play. I'm looking forward to using it personally. Whether or not everybody else does, I'm the kind of guy that looks at this card and goes, I can find a use for that. And I'll continue to lose in tournaments.
On the flip, I do think, though, if we see an increase in bad publicity, we have to see some kind of
Clearance
effect for it.
We have, I think. I think we've seen everything we're getting. Every faction got stuff in this cycle to remove bad publicity.
Yeah, we might see more.
Well, you got the neutral agenda.
Wayland might get more in their box set, right? Because they're going to counterbalance the Anarchs, but I don't think anybody else will. I think after Order and Chaos, we'll be seeing a Gen Techie that's got 4 or 5 bad pub. And
Wayland will get Hacks and Joward. And he'll get rid of bad pub for a click. 2 bad pub per click.
All right. Well, that's frame job. Next up, we hit the quest completed. Play if you made a successful run on R&D HQ Archives. Access 1 installed. Non-ice card.
Silhouette.
Well, we all know the deck that this was run in.
Yeah, I think it's still that one-trick pony style.
Is this still out there?
No.
Silhouette?
No, you can't play it anymore. Because everybody as soon as you sit across the Silhouette deck, you have to expect this. No disrespect to the guy who won that tournament with this deck, because
he blindsided everybody.
Blindsided. You came with a brand new deck, which is what we all hope to do. So if anything, you should win a medal. But this deck is dead now. I think you could do it, but it's going to be way harder.
Yeah. I mean, this plays off one of those like the notoriety style, and it is what it is. I don't think there's much to say about it. I do think it's that one trick style that.
I will say that I like it more than I like notoriety. I like the instant access, because there's the potential. It's a very Anarch style card. There's the potential for less, and there's the potential for more.
Yeah,
right.
And that is true.
I like it in conjunction with.
Yeah, like both.
Yeah.
Cool.
Why is that?
Just because.
Because you're already making the runs, so you might as well double up on them.
Yeah.
Right. If you're already making a successful run on all of the servers, you might
as well get a guaranteed point.
Yeah.
And then steal what they got.
How you got 5 clicks?
All-nighters, anything. You can do tons of stuff.
No, I think that's
nuts. Joshua B.
Oh, come on!
Yeah,
coming from like
we're talking about both factions having an additional way to click, so you can either splash for notoriety.
You're dropping them like janky combos, and that's not your style. And now you're putting quest completed and notoriety in the same deck.
You're saying this is a 5?
You're blowing me away.
No, this is not a 5.
Interesting facts from Corpse. Anything else? Quest completed? Or should we go on to BAM! Singularity, a 4 cost double run event. Make a run on a remote server. It's successful. Instead of accessing cards, trash all cards in that server, even if they can't be trashed. I thought it was going to get played more than it did.
We were all wrong.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Caleb was right.
I was like, yeah, we won't see that much of it.
You know what? This would be great.
Against
It
your
would
deck?
be great if it avoided the Caprice and Easy ability. Because the only server that's really going to be great to blow up is a Caprice Ash agenda. And it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay $4 and an extra click for a 33% chance that I'm going to get in just to have it Nisi Mark II.
A red coats build too. I mean, because a lot of their servers that they like to just get their money behind, or sometimes they're kind of beefy.
Yeah,
They've
Red
already spent
Coats,
their money
Red
on it
Coats
anyway.
runs Caprice and Ash. Like, it's the same
Yeah.
deck.
True.
I really thought we'd see it more, but we didn't.
It's still good. It's just, I think, like, Caprice came out just after it.
Even if they cannot normally be trashed, I guess that's the
Well, because it trashes agenda.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really see a lot of times when
Oh,
somebody's not really stacking like.
but that's the thing. Like, the only server that's worthwhile is like the Super Friends server, right?
Yeah.
Just a clarification in case anybody doesn't know, it's pretty common knowledge now. It doesn't trash the ice in the server. It only trashes the cards in the server.
Not protecting it.
Ice is protecting, cards are in.
Awakening Center, that would affect it, right? Someone having all that ice installed in Awakening Center.
I don't know.
I believe so.
This card would be like...
Yeah, because Awakening Center,
Is in the root
it's in the root.
or
So
in
it's-
the it's in the server in a
Yeah.
remote, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but you'd have
But
to
nobody
pass
used-
that
yeah.
ice that they could put out for
Yeah.
$7 first.
nobody uses Awakening Center anyways. So.
And
I think it's a moot point.
it's good against RSVP. Like,
Yeah.
anybody who's trying to hide behind RSVP, you can just be like, boom, blow up
Yeah.
that sand, and your agenda.
Yeah, and that's why I mean, like, I thought it was, I thought we were gonna see it, but we didn't, and I'm surprised. I'm really am. I didn't think we'd see it splashed out of faction, but I thought more Anarch would have it.
And to be fair, there's a lot of times, like, where it maybe could have been used, but it didn't. Like, when people were doing that dirty play of guarding their sands with snares, and everybody knew it was happening, but you couldn't avoid it. That's the thing that you do to avoid
Yeah.
that.
So that's Singularity. Up next was a very weird card. This is Queen's Gambit. I've only ever seen 2 people run it. I really think that this is a very dangerous card to run, and I was very surprised at the level of danger. Why it was so high on influence.
Yeah, it could have been a 1.
I mean, like, you make an Anarch card like Data Sucker that's so powerful and everyone can use it, right? You make like, you were just talking before, I don't know the order that I'll post these in, so if you haven't seen it, we're talking about Jackson Howard being a 1 and everyone uses it. And then you make a card like this that you're like, man, should I care if anyone uses this card? I'll make it a 3.
We've talked about it before. They have an influence quota, and they figured nobody was going to use this card anyway, so we'll tack on a 1.
Even if this was neutral, I'd be like, no way. Not
There's
putting it
so
in.
many negatives. Why is it a double? Like, the ability.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, right? Like, the ability
I'll pay
is
half my
so
turn to maybe let you
janky,
win.
And it's a double. Ugh.
What do you do?
Blah, blah.
Right? The only, like...
And wasn't this the set that they put in geothermal, or not geothermal fracking, Grendel Refinery?
Yeah.
Like, how many Grendel Refineries got you like $1 billion because stupid people played Queen's Gambit?
I just... your only hope is to be like, Queen's Gambit and then run. And then if it's an agenda, so be it, what happened, if it's nothing else. But I mean, if you play this and you can't get in there, and it's too much of a...
This is the inherent flaw with this card, okay? There's a gamble element to it, so there's a potential that it's going to backfire in your face, and it doesn't give you any more than a sure gamble does. At the end of the day, you only net $4.
I like it does play to the Anarch theme. It is that whole, let me... take that high risk, right? But what's
But if you
what's the criminal card?
Which one?
Or you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Push your luck.
Push your luck. Yeah.
That one's good though. Would you rather push your luck or Queen's Gambit?
I'd rather push your luck.
I'd rather forget it.
I'd rather push your luck.
At least you're only screwing yourself over.
But it's a 50-50 chance. Like, those are the best odds in the house.
Yeah.
This card, if you gained, like, if it was $3 per advancement, then you would be at least gaining $6. Like, you would net $6.
All I'm thinking of is the last thing I said, where I'm like, your only hope is to advance and then run. Imagine someone that just put a trap down.
Yeah, I know. And you're like, here you go.
You've done that all that. When you put June bugs or traps down and you don't advance them right away, as just
wait. Yeah.
You know. So I mean, like,
it's all about the mind
someone's
games.
like, let me Queen's Gambit this, and I've killed myself. I just
or just the Queen's Gambit that you're like, cool, trickle 8, score. You know what I mean? There's so many things that could go wrong using this.
Oh, I thought it was going to take 2 turns to advance this Ronin, but you're dead.
on a successful Queen Gambit, is the money worth it?
No, because it's
still
you gain $4. It costs 2 clicks to put it into play. You gain 6 credits. Now we'll remove those 2 clicks worth of credits, and now you're up $4. You might as well play a sure gamble.
Would you rather Queen's Gambit or would you rather the sure gamble?
They call it a sure gamble because it's for sure.
I will take the sure thing.
It's a sure thing.
Well, I mean, on the sliding scale.
You have to say from a bad economy card to a worse economy card.
No, I'm going the other way. I was hiding it because we go from one way to make money to I think. Listen, everybody out there is always like, Anarch can't search for cards and Anarch can't make money and blah blah blah. And this card is number 23 in the set. This is hard at work.
We had this way early on. This here is I don't know. Somebody opened this pack way earlier than they were supposed to, and the first person looked at it and said, "Oh, this is a crap card," and everyone else just said, "Okay, we believe you." And I don't think anyone ever played it. Do you hear that? You're all sheep.
Sheeple.
I think this card is a good card.
Then use it.
I would if I played
Dared you, damn, it's on.
Listen, and you know why? Because I have played Trimorph.
Okay.
And Trimorph does the same thing. But I use Trimorph every turn.
So Trimorph costs 5 to put into play?
No, it costs 3. But Trimorph has risk
less?
to it because you can if it gets trashed.
You want to know what you can also do with Trimorph? Is choose to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I put it in play and I used it every turn.
But if you needed clicks and you didn't necessarily, and you had $40 already, you would still click Trimorph?
Sure.
I think you're arguing to argue at this point.
Well, if you had 40 cards in hand, would you still wildside?
What's the benefit?
Would you still draw 2 cards?
What's the benefit of having 3 Trimorphs? You have the ability to click for 3 credits, right? Do you want 3 of those in play? Do you want to only have one click a turn?
I don't think that's a viable thing.
We're talking about a card game. Are you going to put? I would rather have multiple, whatever card you just said, Trimorph, than multiple Hard It Works. But I would rather have the potential to gain $6 rather than automatically lose 3 clicks
I don't think
and gain $6.
Okay, so you're totally saying wrong information there, because you would never play like you'd never put in, like, all of a sudden install 4 wild sides.
I'm not comparing wild. So wild side is completely, and you're right, I wouldn't. Primarily because wild side is a unique card.
Why are you saying that you'd want to install 2 of these? Like, nobody in their right mind.
No, I'm saying if we're comparing this to Trimorph, which is your original argument, I would much rather have Trimorph because I hate dead draws, and if I draw multiple Trimorphs, I could put them into play to potentially use 2 abilities that I might want to use, as opposed to paying $10 to gain $4 a turn, losing 2. Yeah, but I'm saying if you're putting multiple into play.
No, but you wouldn't. Why?
Because you put them in your deck. Why would you put cards in your deck that you don't want to play? Trimorph is a good card because when you draw it, you're like, this could potentially help me out for the rest of the game. I'll put it into play. You draw another one, you could go, oh, now I could draw 4. Now I can gain 4 clicks if I want to on any turn that I want. I'll put that into play.
But you put 3 cards of a copy into play in your deck to see that card.
No. You put them... Well, Trimorph...
No!
Trimorph you can only use once per turn, right?
Yes.
So you don't have the ability to click it multiple times, right?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So this and Trimorph, you're right, are easily comparable.
But Trimorph has... The cost is lowered because of the fact that it has a risk to have installed.
Yeah, but you can also choose to use the card.
Yeah.
That's where the risk comes into play. The risk doesn't come into play because it's cheaper. The risk comes into play because it's an option, not a forced ability.
But this card here, everyone, like, you Anarch players, you yourself say, I make no money, I make no money. But this
I
card
don't say
here...
that. I made tons of money.
No,
I splash for Aesops. I get tons of money.
But you always say that Anarch can't search and Anarch can't...
Does this help them search?
No, but Deja Vu makes you search. And
No, it doesn't. It lets you reuse cards that you've already drawn.
Yeah, that's still searching one of the stacks on the table. What's the other one that searches for any virus card? Djinn. That's a search, and you're all Djinn.
I have a Djinn in my deck.
Yeah, and you can search then.
You want to know what I don't have? More than one Djinn.
So why do you need 3 of these cards?
You don't.
That's what I'm saying. You don't. You put it into play. This is a great card to make money in Anarch. What do you want to add anything here?
Hope my mom and hope my dad figure out why they get so mad.
Singing country songs and shit.
No,
That's not a country
it's
song.
Everclear, man. Come on,
Everclear, that's a good
get your
song.
heads together.
With your country accent.
Yeah, because they're basically bumpkins.
You want to add anything into this?
You really think this card is good?
I do.
Oh my god. I thought we were having a point.
I think it costs too much.
I wouldn't have dragged that out as long as I did.
Do you
for me personally,
how many do you put in your deck then? Do you put 3?
I don't play Anarch, and I wouldn't splash this outside of it because every other faction.
Well, okay. Let's hypothetically. You're saying it's a good card. Hypothetically,
You know what? Every argument you're allowed to do, you're allowed to say anything you want, and then be like, "Well, I don't play MBN anyway,
But
so I don't know."
that's not the thing. You're saying it's a good card. I want to know how you'd use it. How do people make this a good card? Explain it to me.
You put it in play, and you get 2 credits a turn.
Okay. So what do you do with every other copy? Do you have multiple copies in your deck? Do you have 1 in your deck?
2 is fine.
2, you think? So you'd be willing to lose 2 clicks every turn?
No, I wouldn't play the other one.
Okay.
It's like you put 3 consoles in your deck to sometimes see that console.
I hate that, but you're right.
You know, there's times that you just want to see it early enough, or you just want to see it, and you're gonna have to discard the other ones. I mean,
Yeah, but do you want to do that with more than 1 card in your deck? Like, do you want to do that with other cards other than your console? Like that was my original argument. It's like Trimorph, I agree, has a risk over reward potential, but
I'm saying Trimorph, I did have it in, I did use it every turn, it did make me money.
But did you put multiple in play? Did you ever have more than... Okay.
No, I did not.
Okay, then I could see your argument, because my argument was you'd put more than one... I would put more than 1 Trimorph in play.
No, you're really against dead draws, but dead draws are just kind of like a part of the game.
Yeah, but you can avoid it if you avidly try to do it.
To a point.
Yeah, there's always, like the consoles, like, I'm playing a virus deck right now, I have 3 Grimoires.
Anyway, my thoughts on Hard at Work are, for me personally,
now you want to say it like I asked you before.
Yeah,
if you wanted, you sang a
then
little
you just
song.
started talking right away.
Yeah, because you started to sing. You didn't
No, but I
answer.
started talking about that.
Okay.
Hard at Work is, for me, too expensive to lose a little bit of freedom, if that makes any sense. That's it. Costs 5 credits, so you don't start making your money back for a little while, and you lose some freedom.
If
You
it
lose
was
your
like
clicks.
$1, boom,
Oh yeah, sure.
throw it into play.
Yeah, but
It
that's
takes
just
so
kinda what I'm
long.
saying.
It literally takes 5 turns for you to gain your money back.
Yeah.
But so why
It's
is
just to gain your money back, not to gain money on it.
Yeah.
But it's the same as professional contacts.
No, because
that's
you
the-
can choose to do it.
Yeah,
There's a
Proton is-
choice behind it.
Yeah, you don't lose your freedom. You're like, well,
So
I
then
need
it's
to
going
draw
to
a
take
card,
you
I'm gonna get
longer
$1.
to make your money back off pro contacts
No,
if
but
you're
we're
not
not
using
talking.
it.
We're not talking about just making your money back. We're
I
just
thought
talking-
that's what you just said.
No, but this one,
It's
you're
the
like, you're
it's the
forced.
force to use
You're
it
forced
that
to
makes
use
it bad.
I don't think so. I think
If it said 5, and you could pay a click to gain $2
once per turn.
it would be better,
Way better,
in my
yeah.
opinion. It would be better, but it's still, in my opinion, wouldn't be playable. But
I'd use it then.
it bottlenecks you, man, and especially in a faction that like wants to run Crypsis, You know what I mean? So now you're already a couple clicks down because you want to load your Crypsis up. And then our other draw card is Wildside. So if you want to run Wildside and this card, you're 2 clicks down. Granted, you're 2 cards and $2 up, which seems like a good trade-off,
You
but
don't
you
always
still need
need
to
it, though.
play and run.
I think I would run Hard at Work. I wouldn't run Wildside. I've never liked Wildside as a draw mechanism.
Because it's uncontrollable, right? Because you can't turn it off.
Right, but that's because I get flooded with cards, and I don't always play a card every turn. But
And
I
it
can
would-
always
And it would get
use
harder
money.
to play cards and make runs as you get more cards that choke the clicks out of your deck.
But with Hard at Work,
Did you think we were going to talk this long on this card?
I did because
I
I was
did, yeah.
ready for this because I knew that as soon as I said I liked it, it was going to pique discussion. And I tried so hard to get Dustin to run this card in his noise deck, but he wouldn't have anything to do with it. I just think that more people need to run this card rather than leave it at home. People need to try it out.
Okay, so if you run less copies of it because you don't want to see multiple copies, there's a less of a chance that you're going to see it early on in the game. This is going to take 5 turns for you to even start looking at an investment. So if you play this middle game, you are literally losing money.
Well, then don't play it.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
No, when you draw it. If you draw this at the end of the game, then don't play it.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Do you want to add anything? It's because we have different styles of play, and
No,
that's what it is.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
You don't
That's
like you
fine.
don't like dead draws, and I can say that
Yeah.
that
The
I
only-
don't mind putting things into my play to be a little more situational.
No, and if that's
I'm neutral in your arguments right now, but the only thing that I can say is that for the same reason that you don't like, what's the one now that gives you the cards?
Wildside?
Wildside. For the same reason you don't like Wildside is the same reason that he doesn't like Hard at Work, right?
No, it's not.
It's
You
the-
weren't listening at all. I don't like Wildside because I can't get too many cards.
Yeah, but
I can-
but you
I
can
can
also
stand-
have
I
too
can-
much money.
No, I can never have enough money.
Sure you can.
you need to be able to do something with that money, and
Yeah.
if you choke out your clicks, you can't really play and run.
Granted,
and-
yeah, it's way easier to have too many cards than it is to have too much
But
money.
you know
but
what
there is
though?
a point where you'll have too much money.
It's styles. Try and play this style. Like nobody tried Hard at Work. Nobody tried it.
I agree that if you get it like opening hand and
I
you
ran-
play it as like your first card, it might make you more than you paid for it.
I've ran Ian Sterling, and in that deck, and I've also run decks with Oracle May, where I'm spending that 1 click to drop. Now, you can choose to do it, but I always, when it's in play, that's my economy engine, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, but that was giving you 3 things. This is giving you 2.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that you can do things with less clicks. You just have to maximize your clicks,
Again, I like the Oracle May because it's an option.
right? I used...
If you need to make an explosive run where you need to do a bunch of things, then you have the ability not to Oracle May.
Maybe
you have your-
maybe more Anarch decks would sing if they put Hard at Work in. Maybe.
Maybe we can get somebody in the comments to talk about it. Let's start a vote in the comments. Yay or nay, Hard at Work.
Yay. In faction. That's the money-making thing, in faction, not out of faction.
I would say liberated accounts over this every day.
Next up, activist support. Activist support was also a card that I liked in the blackmail deck, where I said I used Frame Job as the backup. Activist support was a great card to dish out bad publicity and get ready to make the run. You want to talk?
No, I never actually had any experience with this or used it at all or came up against it. So there's not a ton that I can say about it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the price is right.
Right.
It's 1 credit to put the thing in play, but
We have that God scenario where you have Aesop's, NAPD, and this thing in play, and you play this on their turn, you bounce the tag, on your turn you give them the bad pub, and then you Aesop's it out of play.
Yeah.
That's like God hand. Unfortunately, NAPD is not played that often. And that's a lot of cards to give them one bad pub. And that's another thing that I was talking about with the new Order and Chaos. We're not getting these janky give bad pub cards anymore. We're getting more solid. It's taking more time, but you're getting it. You know what I mean? This costs me 0. I pay 4 clicks and trash it, and you get a bad pub. You know what I mean? That's a huge investment, but it's a reliable investment.
Yeah. And camping tags now has kind of become a bit of an exercise.
Yeah, because information overload is gonna suck.
Yeah, you're dancing awfully close to the fire now.
I liked activist support. It played with the Anarch style very well, flirting the line.
You did it.
Right.
You did it the best.
You did it right.
Like your deck, I don't know. I was caught off guard by that. It just came out. It honestly was like a haymaker when you did it. Like you just didn't see it coming, and like there were so many options where you're like, I think I'm safe, and then you're just like, wild swing, knock me out, and then just friggin' go in, and then I got the bad pub, and then you're trying to recover.
Yeah. Literally, unless you had the Bioroid efficiency or oversight AI, you were like probably gonna lose.
There's that one grid that
yeah.
Wayland has when you install. You can res 2 for 3 cheaper.
Yeah, but other than that, you were going to get blindsided because there was no other way to res your ice. You had to wait till he run. He's like, yeah, black man.
My only saving grace was Caprice. If I didn't have Caprice in the deck, and you were cursing her that whole freaking game, but you still did great.
So that's pretty activist support. It's very deck specific. There's not really else to say on that. If you need that attack to give bad pub out, it's the best way, and you're obviously taking the tag in Anarch to offset that.
Just quickly, this is the one card that I don't think you'll see in previous or in the future bad pub decks. This is the one I don't think you'll see.
Tally Peralta is the concluding one here. Trash to draw a card for each bad publicity the corp has. Whenever the corp is gray ops or black ops is trashed after resolving, give them a bad pub and take a tag. I didn't see Tally Peralta at all. I don't think she's viable play right now.
Not right now.
No.
I don't think there's anything else to say about that. It's 3 influence, so it could be set up for something. I always think influence plays a heavy factor into.
Yeah. If any of the viewers, if you guys have made a deck or have come across any decks that abuse this card, then definitely put it below or put a link to it.
That blackmail girl, I think, is going to use this. Like I said, if you can reliably get to 4 bad pub on your opponent, this card becomes really, really, really powerful.
So, Anarch as a whole, breakdown. Who wants to take it first?
I'll go first. I think this set as a whole, unfortunately, even though it's my faction, I think I'm going to give it 2.
2 is low. 2 is low for where I would have put it.
Whoa,
You're going to go higher than 2? I banked you at like a 1.
Oh, here, Jameson, you talk. I got to look at it again. Because Rena's in there, so she's pretty good.
You did the...
do you think Rena's viable?
You out-limboed him. That's what
that's what I threw off your game.
He's like, oh man, let me go watch this video in my mind again.
I was going to give it a 2, but I have to give it lower than Chase.
Hang on. No, I have to give it lower than Chase.
So while he's doing that, I'll say that, I don't know, 3, I was playing off a 3 before, but I think I'm still going to say a 3. There was a lot of power in there for me.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the mark. You're going 2, no way around it.
Having the identity there, did teeter it a bit, but to me, Knight was very popular. I think there's way upside in what Hemorrhage can do. Keyhole is just a phenomenally powered card, and the chess pieces were nice, a nice touch. I think Frame Job and Activist Support are on the middle, and the rest is just kind of blasé. But I mean, I think it's a 3.
I agree. I think it's also a 3. I think that I forgot about Reyna. She completely tipped the scales here. But
this is like a utterly useless file. That's like a mediocre to not use file, and that's like semi-good file.
Wait, what's what?
This is not usable. So I got 5 cards in not usable. I got 6 cards in the maybe, and then I've got 6 cards now in the yes. So it's
less
still,
than half.
It's
There you
no, it's still no, it's
There,
the
there you go.
hard at
Hard at
work.
Work's
No,
gonna sell
no,
it.
no.
Hey, hard at work is in the middle for him though.
It's in the middle for me because it's still an option. It's still an option if you want to make money. And it's the
If
same
you
way
want
the
to
wild
make money
side is
in
an option
faction.
for drawing. Yeah.
Bam.
So,
You could have
Yeah.
warned me about that fight that we were gonna have.
No, I think that's key.
You knew about it, didn't you?
no, I didn't know about it, and it's going to take a
Jesus.
lot of therapy to make our family okay again.
Don't worry. We'll
No,
make
I'm-
sweet love later, and you'll be fine.
I'm
We'll let
fine
you
with it.
listen
I
to
Do I have to watch it?
I think it'll be for good viewing.
Yeah.
I'm very passionately behind it,
Makes for
and I
good
think
TV.
that's what makes bad publicity what it is. We got the different opinions on the table. 2 strong-minded people and 1 person that doesn't really
Silly
talk
brain.
much.
No, well, Carl spoke. It don't matter. None of this matters.
Wrap it up, brother. What do you got?
I got a 3, so I'm gonna agree with Jameson on this one. Only because I can't give it like a 2.7. You know what I mean?
no
So
fence in it,
yeah, no
right?
fence in it. So it's going up to a 3, just because the usable stuff that's there. Not only is it super usable in
It's very
faction, it's
dangerous.
very usable outside of faction too. So there's a pretty hefty pile here of great cards that a lot of people have taken some good advantage over, and the good is in an equal pile with the maybes, and they both outweigh the no-goes. So
You got
Want to quickly say that I did use the cards in the good pile, and I'm still sticking to my 2. I avidly use the cards.
there you go.
Let me know what
Just
you think in
wrong.
the comments below. Love to hear from you guys. If you stuck it all this way, hopefully you give us a subscribe, and thanks for supporting Bad Publicity.
Check out Team Conan, buy some tokens.
Yeah.